The Social Security Administration just released its 2026 Trustees Report, and buried inside it is a projection that should stop every American over the age of 60 in their tracks. The retirement trust fund is now expected to run dry in 2032, not 2040, not some distant year your grandchildren will deal with, 2032, 6 years from right now. And when it does, every single person collecting a Social Security check, regardless of age, regardless of income, regardless of how long they paid into the system, faces an automatic 22% cut to their benefits. That is not a political threat. That is current law. If the trust fund hits zero and Congress has not acted, the Social Security Administration is legally prohibited from paying out more than it collects in payroll taxes. The math does not care how long you worked. The math does not care that you paid in for 40 years. The math just cuts. But that is not the only thing happening right now. There are at least 6 major Social Security changes in 2026 that directly affect anyone born in the 1940s, 1950s, or 1960s, and most of these people have not heard about a single one. Some of these changes put money in your pocket. Some of them take money out. One of them involves paper checks disappearing entirely before the end of this year. Another involves a brand new tax deduction that could save you thousands of dollars, but only if you know it exists and only if you claim it before the window closes. And one of them is a massive rule change that already restored benefits to over 3 million Americans, but hundreds of thousands of eligible people still have not filed because nobody told them they could. If you were born between 1940 and 1969, your Social Security is being shaped right now by decisions that were made quietly, buried in 1,000-page bills, and never explained to the public in plain language. That changes in the next 20 minutes. Let me start with the change that affects every single person watching this, and the one that almost nobody is paying attention to. If you are still receiving your Social Security payment as a paper check mailed to your home, that check is going away. The Social Security Administration confirmed on June 2nd of this year that it is completing a full transition to electronic-only payments before the end of 2026. This is not optional. This is not a suggestion. Federal law and an executive order signed in March 2025 directed all federal agencies, including the Social Security Administration, to stop issuing paper checks. Now, you might think this only affects a small number of people, and technically that is true. Fewer than 1% of Social Security recipients still get paper checks, but that 1% represents hundreds of thousands of real people. Many of them are in their 80s and 90s. Many of them have used paper checks their entire lives. Many of them live in rural areas where a bank branch is 45 minutes away, and the Social Security Administration is telling all of them that their current payment method is being eliminated. The agency is offering 2 alternatives. The first is direct deposit into a bank account, which is the method roughly 99% of beneficiaries already use. The second is a Direct Express prepaid debit card, which is a MasterCard managed through the Treasury Department. It does not require a bank account, it carries no enrollment fee, and your payment gets loaded onto it each month automatically. If you are someone who does not have a bank account, that card is your lifeline, and you should know about it before the paper stops coming. There are limited exceptions available through the Treasury Department for people with documented hardships, such as severe mental health challenges or living in areas without access to any financial institution. But those waivers are narrow, and the burden of applying falls on the beneficiary. If you are helping an older parent or grandparent manage their finances, this is the one to check on immediately. Do not assume they have already switched. Do not assume someone at Social Security told them. Go to their account and verify how their payment is being delivered, because when those paper checks stop, they stop without a grace period. Now let me move to the change that is putting real money back into the pockets of seniors right now, and the one that Congress buried so deep in legislation that millions of eligible people will never claim it unless someone tells them it exists. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act was signed into law on July 4th, 2025. It was over 1,000 pages long, and tucked inside those pages was a brand new deduction for Americans 65 and older. It is called the senior bonus deduction, and it allows qualifying individuals to deduct an additional $6,000 from their taxable income. If you are married and both spouses are 65 or older, that doubles to $12,000. This is not the standard deduction. This is not the existing additional standard deduction that seniors have always received for being over 65. This is on top of both of those. It is new money that did not exist before the 2025 tax year. To qualify for the full deduction, your modified adjusted gross income needs to be at or below $75,000 as a single filer, or $150,000 as a married couple filing jointly. Above those numbers, the deduction phases out gradually. It does not disappear entirely until income reaches $175,000 for singles or $250,000 for married couples. Here is what makes this deduction so important in the context of Social Security. The federal government taxes Social Security benefits based on something called combined income, which is your adjusted gross income plus tax-exempt interest plus half of your Social Security benefits. If that number falls between $25,000 and $34,000 for a single filer, up to 50% of your benefits become taxable. Above $34,000, up to 85% is taxable. For married couples, the thresholds are $32,000 and $44,000. Those thresholds were set in 1983 and 1993. They have never been adjusted for inflation, not once in over 40 years. Back in 1983, a combined income of $25,000 was solidly middle class. Adjusted for inflation, that number should be somewhere around $78,000 today. But it is still $25,000. The result is that over 56% of Social Security recipients now pay federal taxes on their benefits, up from roughly 10% when the thresholds were first created. The tax was designed to reach the wealthy. Through 4 decades of frozen numbers, it now reaches the majority. The senior bonus deduction was specifically designed to soften this problem. For some seniors, particularly those with modest incomes, stacking the new deduction on top of the existing standard deduction and the age-based additional deduction can push their taxable income to zero. For others, it may not eliminate the tax entirely, but it can pull them below a threshold, meaning a smaller share of their Social Security is taxed. Here's the part that should concern you. This deduction is temporary. As the law is written today, it applies to tax years 2025 through 2028. 4 years. Unless Congress extends it, it expires. And every year, you do not claim it is a year of savings you will never get back. Not all tax preparation software is automatically applying this deduction. It is new. It was buried in a massive bill. Some preparers have not updated their systems. If you filed your 2025 return without it, you can still file an amended return. If you have not filed yet, make sure whoever prepares your return knows about this deduction and applies it. Now let me talk about the change that directly affected over 3 million Americans and that many people born in the 1940s and 1950s still have not taken advantage of. On January 5, 2025, the Social Security Fairness Act was signed into law. It eliminated 2 provisions that had been reducing or completely wiping out Social Security benefits for public sector workers for decades. Those provisions were the windfall elimination provision and the government pension offset. If those names mean nothing to you, here is what they did in plain language. If you worked a career in public service, a teacher, a firefighter, a police officer, a postal worker, a state or local government employee, and your job did not pay into Social Security, you likely earned a government pension through that work. Many of those same people also worked other jobs during their lives that did pay into Social Security. Under the old rules, if you earned a government pension from non-covered work and also qualified for Social Security, your Social Security benefit was reduced, sometimes dramatically. The windfall elimination provision cut into your own earned benefit. The government pension offset went after spousal and survivor benefits, reducing them by 2/3 of your pension amount. For many people, the offset wiped out the spousal or survivor benefit entirely. The Social Security Fairness Act eliminated both of those reductions, retroactive to January 2024. By July of 2025, the Social Security Administration had completed sending over 3.1 million payments totaling $17 billion to affected beneficiaries. The average monthly increase was approximately $360, and some individuals saw their benefits rise by over $1,000 per month. But here's the problem that nobody is talking about loudly enough. There is a significant group of people who are eligible for benefits under this new law who never applied in the first place. They never applied because under the old rules, the government pension offset would have reduced their spousal or survivor benefit to zero. They looked at the math, saw they would get nothing, and never bothered filing. Now the offset is gone. The benefit they were told they could not have is suddenly available. But Social Security does not pay benefits you have not applied for. You have to file. And retroactive benefits for retirement and spousal claims are generally limited to 6 months from the date you apply. Every month you wait is a month of benefits that disappears permanently. If you spend any part of your career in a government job that did not pay into Social Security, or if your spouse did, log into your Social Security account and check your benefit amount. If it has not changed or if you never applied because you assumed you would get nothing, contact the Social Security Administration directly. This applies heavily to people born in the 1940s and 1950s because those are the generations most likely to have spent full careers in public sector positions where these provisions were actively cutting benefits for decades. Now, let me talk about the number that determines when you receive your full Social Security benefit and why it just completed a change that has been rolling out for over 40 years. If you were born in 1960 or later, your full retirement age is now 67. That transition is officially complete. For decades, the full retirement age was 65. Congress raised it as part of the 1983 amendments to the Social Security Act, the same legislation that created the income thresholds I just described. The increase was phased in gradually. If you were born between 1943 and 1954, your full retirement age was 66. For those born between 1955 and 1959, it crept up by 2 months per year. Born in 1955, your full retirement age was 66 and 2 months. Born in 1958, it was 66 and 8 months. Born in 1959, it was 66 and 10 months. Starting in 2026, anyone born in 1960 or later reaches full retirement age at 67. This is the first generation of Americans for whom the full retirement age is a full year higher than it was for their parents. And the consequences of that shift are not small. If you claim Social Security at age 62 and your full retirement age is 67, your monthly benefit is permanently reduced by 30%, not temporarily, permanently, for the rest of your life. If your full benefit at 67 would have been $2,000 a month, claiming at 62 drops that to $1,400 a month. Over a 20-year retirement, that difference adds up to $144,000 in lost income. On the other side of the equation, if you delay benefits past your full retirement age, your benefit increases by 8% per year, up to age 70. Waiting until 70 to claim means your benefit is 124% of what it would have been at 67. On a $2,000 base benefit, that is $2,480 per month. The maximum monthly Social Security benefit at full retirement age in 2026 is $4,152. If you retire at 62, the maximum drops to $2,969. If you wait until 70, it rises to $5,181. Those are not trivial differences. And the full retirement age shift to 67 means the penalty for claiming early is now steeper than it has ever been. For people born in the late 1950s and early 1960s who are approaching retirement decisions right now, this is the calculation that matters more than almost anything else in your financial life. The decision of when to claim is permanent and irreversible. There is no do-over. Now let me address the 2.8% cost of living adjustment that went into effect in January 2026 and why, for millions of seniors, it actually made things worse. Social Security benefits increased by 2.8% this year, slightly higher than the 2.5% increase in 2025. The average retiree saw their monthly check go up by about $56. That sounds like a raise. It is supposed to keep your benefits in line with inflation so your purchasing power does not erode. But for many recipients, the math does not work that way. Here is what happens in practice. The cost of living adjustment pushes your total Social Security income higher. That higher income pushes your combined income higher. And because the thresholds for taxing Social Security have been frozen since 1983, that small raise can push you over a line, meaning a larger share of your benefits is suddenly taxable. You got a raise, the raise increased your taxes, and the taxes ate the raise. In some cases, retirees take home less money after the cost of living adjustment than they did before it. On top of that, Medicare Part B premiums also increased for 2026. The standard monthly premium rose to $202.90, up from $185 in 2025. That increase is automatically deducted from your Social Security check before you ever see the money, so your benefit went up by $56, but your Medicare premium went up by nearly $18. Your net increase before taxes is closer to $38. And if the raise pushed more of your Social Security into the taxable zone, even that $38 shrinks further. This is the invisible trap that catches millions of seniors every single year, and it is entirely the product of Congress refusing to update income thresholds that are now over 40 years old. The cost of living adjustment exists to protect your purchasing power. The frozen thresholds exist because the tax revenue is too valuable for the government to give up. Those two realities are in direct conflict, and the person who loses is the retiree. There is one more number that every working senior needs to know about in 2026, and that is the earnings test. If you are collecting Social Security before reaching your full retirement age and you are still working, there is a limit to how much you can earn before benefits are reduced. In 2026, that limit is $24,480 for people who are under full retirement age for the entire year. For every $2 you earn above that limit, Social Security withholds $1 from your benefits. For people reaching full retirement age during 2026, the limit is higher, $65,160, and the reduction is $1 for every $3 earned above the limit. Once you reach full retirement age, the earnings test disappears completely, and you can earn as much as you want with no reduction. This is important for people born in the early 1960s who may be in their early to mid-60s, still working and considering whether to start collecting benefits. The earnings test does not permanently reduce your benefit. When you reach full retirement age, Social Security recalculates your monthly amount to credit you for the month's benefits were withheld. But in the short term, the reduction can be a shock if you are not expecting it, and the paperwork to sort it out adds another layer of complexity that nobody walks you through. Now let me bring all of this back to the number I started with, 2032. The 2026 Trustees Report released on June 9th confirmed that the Social Security Retirement Trust Fund is projected to be depleted by the fourth quarter of 2032. This is 1 year earlier than last year's projection. The trust fund reserves declined by $160 billion in 2025 alone, dropping to $2.56 trillion. The program is now paying out more in benefits than it collects in payroll taxes every single year, and the gap is widening. Two major factors are accelerating the timeline. First, birth rates in the United States continue to decline. The trustees lowered their long-term fertility assumption from 1.9 to 1.75 children per woman, which means fewer future workers paying into the system to support a growing retiree population. Second, changes in immigration policy are reducing the number of workers contributing payroll taxes. The ratio of workers paying into Social Security to people drawing benefits has dropped from 4 to 1 in 1965 to less than 3 to 1 today, and it is projected to fall below 2.5 to 1 within the next couple of decades. On top of those demographic pressures, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, The same law that created the senior bonus deduction is projected to reduce revenue flowing into the trust fund by $168.6 billion over the next decade. The deduction reduces the income taxes that seniors pay on their Social Security benefits, and a portion of that tax revenue goes directly into the trust fund. The same provision that saves retirees money today is hastening the date when the fund runs out. When the trust fund is depleted, Social Security does not end. Payroll taxes will still flow in, but those taxes will only cover about 78% of scheduled benefits. The remaining 22% gets cut across the board for every beneficiary, regardless of age, income, or need. A retiree currently receiving $2,000 a month would see their check drop to roughly $1,560. A couple receiving $3,500 combined would lose over $700 a month. Congress has known about this for decades. The 1983 amendments were supposed to fix the problem for 75 years. They did not. And now the senators who will be elected in November 2026 will be in office when the trust fund hits zero. Whether they act before that happens is the single most consequential retirement question facing every American alive today. Here is what I want you to take away from everything I just told you. If you were born in the 1940s, the Social Security Fairness Act may have already restored benefits you were denied for years. But if you never applied for spousal or survivor benefits because the old rules would have eliminated them, you need to apply now. Every month you wait costs you money you cannot recover. Check your benefit statement. If the number has not changed, make the call. If you were born in the 1950s, you are in the generation most affected by the frozen tax thresholds, the cost of living adjustment trap, and the new senior bonus deduction. The deduction can save you real money, but it expires in 2028, and it is not being automatically applied by every tax preparer. Make sure you are claiming every dollar you are owed. If you already filed your 2025 return without it, you can amend. If you were born in the 1960s, you are the first generation with a full retirement age of 67, and you are making claiming decisions right now that will affect your income for the rest of your life. The 30% early claiming penalty is the steepest it has ever been. The 24% delayed retirement credit is the largest incentive to wait. And the trust fund depletion date of 2032 means you may be among the first retirees to face an automatic benefit cut if Congress does not act. And for everyone, regardless of when you were born, if you or someone you care about is still receiving Social Security by paper check, that check is being eliminated before the end of this year. Switch to direct deposit or a direct express card now on your own terms before the decision is made for you. None of these changes were announced at a press conference. None of them came with a letter in the mail explaining what they mean for your retirement. The Social Security Administration does not call you when a rule changes. The IRS does not remind you about deductions you forgot to claim. Congress does not send you a summary when it passes a bill that affects your benefits. The entire system operates on the assumption that you will figure it out yourself. And for most people, that assumption means money left on the table, penalties paid unnecessarily, and benefits reduced permanently because nobody explained the rules in time. That is exactly why I make these videos. If this helped you understand something you did not know before, share it with one person in your life who is over 60, a parent, a neighbor, a friend, anyone who collects Social Security or is about to start. The information in this video is free. The cost of not having it is not. Like and subscribe so you see the next one. I will see you there.